get together. Oh, I'm so happy.
So great to have air conditioning in the building. And for those of you who don't know it, the roof is brand new. The air conditioning units are brand new. And really, this center is being lifted in so many ways. It's just exciting for me. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for everyone online. And I know that this is a day that we're just here to rejoice together for many, many reasons. So, my name is Sue Witter. I'm one of the practitioners here, and we start with our vision.
We do.
So, if you will repeat with me, we are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. Oh my goodness, it is so exciting to have everything just coming back so beautifully. So. At this point, though, this is the point of the service where we begin to be still and open our hearts and our minds to allow the activity of Spirit to move within us to get us ready for the message.
I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet
And so here in this quiet place where our hearts and our minds are wide open for the activity of spirit that is pure peace and joy, love, harmony, happiness, wisdom, clarity, freedom, compassion, kindness, and oh so very, very much more. I know that in this moment, I am acutely aware that that is the activity of spirit that lives and moves and has its being in, through, and as me, in, through, and as everyone in this room, in, through, and as everyone everywhere. And in this moment, I know that we have opened our hearts and minds to be ready for Reverend Kieran's beautiful message that is absolutely a divine inspiration and lifts our hearts. For Craig and John, whose music always brings us joy and happiness. I know that this incredible service is a beautiful idea in the mind of God, therefore it must be so. And so it is. My reading today is from the Science of Mind textbook. It says, we separate the belief from the believer and reveal that which needs no healing. Thought is sifted, and that which does not belong to the real person must be discarded. Whatever is of discordant nature does not belong to the truth of our being. We really heal the thought. The spirit of man needs no healing, for the spirit of man is God. Ignorance stays with us until the day of enlightenment, until our vision toward the spirit broadcasts and casts out the image of a no longer useful littleness. We now have experience. We may cease experiencing it if we have the will and the imagination to set our vision in the opposite direction and hold it there. It is the office of the imagination to set the vision. The will should hold it in place until the creative genius of the inner transformation, the image of limitation, and transmutes it into liberty under law. So just allow yourself to feel that opening, that activity of spirit. And so it is. Hi.
Hi.
How are you today? Happy 4th of July. That we get to celebrate this amazing country we live in. This song is about, I'm not charitable. It's about something. Love is kind of like a river, ever wild, rolling free, flowing through life's winding canyons like it runs for you and me. Love is really never ending. Life is just a passing chance. Thoughts of love in constant motion, you know, inviting us to join the dance. Well, the storms they may come, showers they may fall. Fill my every heartbeat with their rain, charging ever forward, river still runs, quench my thirst, fill me up again. So did you ever stop to wonder if love flew your way? So you can hear the river whispering, there comes a brighter day. But the storms they may come, showers they may fall. Fill my every heartbeat with their rain, charging ever forward, the river still runs, quench my thirst, fill me up again. Don't forget the cycle of the river to the sea. Say with each and every rain fall, love is flowing back to you and me. For the storms they may come, showers they may fall. Fill my empty heartbeat with their rain, charging ever forward, river still flows, quench my thirst, fill me up again. Storms they may come, showers they may fall. Fill my every heartbeat with their rain, charging ever forward, river still runs, to quench my thirst, fill me up again. Quench my thirst, fill me up again. Quench my thirst, fill me up again.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, John. That was really beautiful. Was that? Oh my gosh, you play the guitar. It's so beautifully. It's such a treat to have you here.
Thank you.
And John, isn't John cool?
Yeah.
Isn't he just so cool? You know, I look at you and I go, well, I could almost do that. And then it occurs to me, I'm not that cool. I'd be putting all kinds of extra stuff around it. Good morning. Good morning. Is my mic a little hot? I'm here. Oh, it's that. Can you, something's humming. Just don't let it be me. Good morning, good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm the senior minister here, and it is my pleasure to be welcoming people back. We were sort of hibernating for a couple weeks. We still did the service, but we asked you all to stay at home because it was 94 degrees in here. And I couldn't have a fan because it would blow my notes around and me. And but we tried to keep everybody else cool, and we kept as few people in here as we possibly could because we had about 10 days without any AC. And man, are we happy. And you know what? Let's just give a really big round of applause to our board president. Stand up, Andrew. Come on, stand up and let us. Thank you so much. This was no small job. In fact, I don't think his work is done yet. There's still walkthroughs and stuff, and we're still getting used to where to set the temperatures. And to get new AC in the entire building, we have a lot of air conditioners that keep this building cool. It's a big building. And to be able to coordinate that at the same time as the new roof was just, man, you could see the hand of God in the whole thing. So I am great, happy, blessed, inspired, and grateful. That's the way we're big for God, and I'm happy to be here today talking to you about something that's very dear to my heart and something that is perfect for Independence Day, something that aligns with a vision that a group of people maintained a faith toward to bring us to where we are today. And I know we're in flux and change, but I want you to focus today on freedom. And the title of my message is Faithful to the Vision. And I really like that title because it reminds me that we are all visionaries in our own lives. It's up to us. That's a part of New Thought, the teachings of New Thought and the metaphysicians that come of the ages. All the great thinkers realize that we really are responsible for so much of our lives and how much good, it's almost as how much good can you handle, right? And then I love that idea that why are we here? Well, we're created for the delight of God, and therefore we better give God a good time by enjoying our lives. So I think that the key that I wanted to start on this morning is that being faithful to a vision means you have a vision first, and then you align your life to the unfolding of that vision. But we take that a step further in New Thought, and we talk about the way that we see the end in the beginning. You know who said that more than anything was Neville. Neville picked up on that, and Neville spoke of it all the time. And anybody that loves Neville, it says, you can hear them say that line. We see the end in the beginning. So always from the start, we affirm how we see things moving. So it's a great way to start your day, to get up in the morning and affirm that you're claiming a rich and wonderful experience in your life each day and before projects and just any opportunity we have. We really like to align ourselves to that. And the other beautiful thing about all of this is that the Centers for Spiritual Living, we have over 400 centers around the globe, and our annual theme is timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision. That's the theme for 2021, and that really tickles me because in 2020, we started out with, here at our center, our theme was, we'll always do that, won't we, forever and ever, 2020. Interpret that in your own personalized way. But I love that vision. So we at our center in 2020 were what I see today. It's still on the cover of the programs, which we haven't been circulating in quite a while. But I love that idea of evolutionary vision. That the way we see life and the way we see the world is how we will experience it. And so if we think of it as wisdom, there's this ancient wisdom that we align ourselves to first, and then there's that evolutionary, evolving vision that implies then this way that we're called forward or we're called to rise, and whatever metaphors that sustain you are usable. But remember that evolving is not the backward stuff that happens. So evolving is that forward motion, and that's what I want to focus on today. The quote that I am using comes from this same book that Sue read from. Was that the general summary, by the way? That was a lovely
From the
reading.
General Summary.
And I love that part. I've been reading about will and imagination a lot lately, so that was interesting that you tapped into that. That was a really good reading. But I'm quoting from the Science of Mind textbook as well. I like to start with a quote from Dr. Holmes, who's the founder of this teaching. And in a place in the textbook where he's speaking about, he's sort of reflecting on the idea of spiritual psychology and human behavior, he says these words. This is pretty good. The average human thought is one of negation. I know, it's surprising. A little bit surprising, isn't it? The average, it's surprising that it would be in the Science of Mind textbook that he would speak that way. But the average human thought begins with that negation, and listen to how he says it. It's a denial of a harmonious universe. So now we can see that that's true there. If something goes wrong in our day, we're not likely to be paying attention to how harmoniously the planets are moving about in the universe and not bumping into each other. So the consequence of that, he says, is that we must then remain faithful to the vision. We must remain faithful to that greater reality, those things that are invisible, that require sort of that inner divine seeing and interpreting and allowing the spiritual view to be something that enhances our perspective and in the way that we move about the planet every day. So when Dr. Holmes is speaking about being faithful in that same chapter, he says that to be faithful is to maintain a mental attitude that is so embedded in our mind that it is nearly impossible to deny the facts. Right? So faith is like we build it. It's like our consciousness is always expanding, and in that same way we are always building our faith and really embedding in our minds what it is that we truly believe and how we want to experience our lives and aligning ourselves to all of that. There's a saying in the Hindu faith, I like this, confident faith allows blessings to enter you. A confident faith allows blessings to enter you. And so I often will speak, especially when I'm praying, I'll speak about that idea of becoming so open that you're just a vessel so that the grace of God can pour into us. And because the grace of God is not earned, the grace of God is freely given all the time. And so what a sweet way to think of it. We're allowing the blessings to enter into our awareness, and therefore it multiplies the experience of the blessing. So we don't want to waste our time denying the harmony that exists in the universe. We want to be able to see that the world is spilling over with beauty and with possibility. And how about that little taste of monsoon yesterday? That was so lovely, and this morning it was hard not to sit on the patio and be leisurely. I had to have my work mind on because it was so nice and cool. It feels tropical out there. It's like you've spent a lot of money to go to Hawaii and you're sitting on an island. And that would be the experience. So we want to appreciate that, because those are rare experiences in the summer in the desert. Through our commitment to spiritual study and to our own personal growth around spiritual matters, there is something we can do to achieve that kind of faith. And I say that because it's written that faith is consciously generated. Wow, that touches me. Our faith can be consciously generated. In other words, what we're focusing on is it has a vibrational impact on our being. And by choosing what it is we focus our attention on, we're generating a matching, a corresponding experience. So the theme this morning is, I want us to leave with that idea. I want us to leave this morning with that idea that we have that power, that we can align ourselves to the truth of our being and to call on that power that's greater than we are, so that we can generate a faith that will be so firmly embedded in our minds we can no longer deny the harmony that exists in the world, no matter what's going on in the news or what's going on in our lives. We always begin with God, right? In the beginning, God. Right? In the beginning, God. First step of spiritual mind treatment, first step of affirmative prayer that we teach is to recognize God is. God is right here, right now. In the beginning, it's always God. And so whenever you're a little out there and not focused and not feeling that or sensing the presence of God, that's a quick return. And the more you do it, the more you are generating that intentional faith, the more we impact our lives in that positive way. So I like to clarify from time to time, I like to clarify how we define God, because I believe that we teach of a personalized relationship with the divine. It is each of us individually, it's our responsibility to sort of court the presence. You know, I love that idea, and that every time I sit in my spiritual practice, I realize I'm courting, you know, it's like God is wooing me, and I'm open to receive that, and there's some kind of beautiful exchange. And so I personalize God in a way that works for me, and you personalize God in a way that works for you, and none of us do it quite the same. And that's why I like to remind us every now and then, there actually is probably about 7 billion gods on the planet right now. And that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. So when I use the term God, I want to be really clear that, you know, it has for a long time, it has not been an entity, a man-like or a grandpa-like figure that is watching and controlling things. It hasn't been like that for me for a long time. When I think of God, I go right to the first thing that comes to my mind, even when I'm teaching, the absolute. I think of God as the absolute, the allness of life. I think of God as the infinite intelligence of all the universe, and now I'm sensing the presence of God in me because it's not a thing, it's not a man, it's not a, you know, it's not an image of a human. It's greater than that. It is that very intelligence that created all of creation. And so I align myself to that. I remember those things, and I remember that, and I like the way Sue prays. When she starts her prayer, she always says something similar to this. But then I remind myself that God is love, that God is joy, that God is peace, and that God is harmony. And not just, those are not just descriptive words of what God is. That is God. And so the more we can get away from any idea of trying to define God from a childlike way, and the more that we constantly ponder the question, what is God? That you know, Ernest Holmes did that every day. He asked himself every day, what is God? You know, what's the purpose of the universe? And what's my place in the universe? Every day, great thinkers ask themselves that question. Not because it changes as much as I think it expands. It becomes a greater and greater, more expansive idea. And therefore, that presence and the power can be, you know, just massively useful, right? There's a power and a presence for good, and it's greater than I am, and the greater we enhance it, the greater that power is, and the more empowered we are, which brings us back to that idea of independence that's celebrated on July 4th every year in this country. So when I speak of God as love, God is peace, God is joy, perfect order, sometimes people will say to me, well, if that's true, why is there so much suffering in the world? Why do we see so many horrible things? And I always begin to respond to that question by saying that we do not teach here of a God that causes suffering. We do not believe in a God that inflicts sorrow upon us or troubles upon us in order to grow us. We do not believe in a God that has an opponent, Satan the devil, to try, and that God allows us to go through those things so that we can get tougher and strengthen ourselves. We do not believe in any of that. We teach a concept of God that is all-powerful, that is this great, loving presence, but it's also a force in this universe for good. It is also that creative process of how life gets to be the way it is under the idea that there are spiritual laws that correspond to our level of participation. And so what we're talking about is how the great thinkers would say that there's love and there's law. And so the love side of God is where when I feel like I need comforting, that's what I tune into. The law side of God is where I affirm my truths and realign myself to be moving in that divine current in the same way that this building could be refurbished and we could have cool air. Boy, this will be the first summer we have not had to call in a repairman. I rejoice. And Tracy is in the back, and her husband is our AC dude who works mostly out of love. I can't imagine there's anybody happier than Tracy's husband right now. Because man, we have limped through the last 3 or 4 years, I'll tell you. Bill's been here a lot in the summertime. Anyhow, we teach about a God that is both a loving and powerful presence and also this great creative force. And I like to say that the creative process is also God, in a way of expressing what God is. So the creative process is like the way we study. Every faith has their story of how things get to be the way they are. And because we throw out the devil right away, then we look at, then why do bad things happen? And it's because, it's not an easy answer. I'm not standing here like I can generalize it in a little Sunday morning message. But but basically it's because everybody wants the same things. We all want peace and love and companionship and joy, and we want people to care about us, and we want to care about other people, and we want things, and we want to be safe, and we all want those basic same things, but we have different ways of going about acquiring those things. So then you get into ethics and morals and all those other things that we don't, I love that we don't moralize and that we don't have a lot of dogma. I think that is part of what's inviting for me as a minister and a teacher. So what we call creative process, the creative process, is what the classical metaphysicians, probably the first users of these terms, would have called cause and effect. So it starts with that first cause. You plant a seed, and then whatever kind of seed you plant blossoms into that into form. So cause and effect would be one way of saying it. In some religions, it would be considered karma. They would talk about karmic law. And in the Christian Bible, there's a passage that says you reap what you sow. In the realm of psychology, I have heard psychologists say what goes around comes around. And if somebody done you wrong, you can only hope you're there to see it when they get theirs, which we would never say in church, of course. And then I like that, I'm thinking of that passage in the Bible where it says we all get our just desserts. Sounds like it's fun, but it doesn't always taste good when you're receiving the consequence of some decision you made somewhere along the road. So the bottom line is, if we want to grow our faith, if we want to consciously generate a greater faith and have a faithful vision toward what's possible in our lives, then we start by rethinking what God is, by expanding our idea of what God is, and we look for ways to personalize it. I really invite you to do that. It's helpful to know that God doesn't punish us, that life doesn't punish us, that a virus has not come to eliminate us from the planet, because we are not victims. See, that's where our freedom lies, as we begin to be accountable for our choices and how we want to respond to the things that are happening in our lives and in the world. We suffer because just the result of our choices. And that's not bad news. That is not punitive in any way. Because when I suffer, I don't like it much, and so it tells me, well, I don't want to do that again, right? I can make a different decision, because when you change your choices, when you see all the options and you change your choices, you change your life, right? It's the same old adage: change your thinking, change your life, change your choices. Well, your life, you're going to see your life be different right before you. So spiritually speaking, to change your mind is to heal your vision, or you could turn it inside out and say, to heal your vision, you could change your mind. And I like that it works both ways, because with healed vision, when I begin to see beyond what I think I'm seeing, then everything is different. Then I can see the world different, and I can see what's going on out there in a different way. And I don't see the world so broken. And boy, for me, that gives me a lot more freedom in my life, when I'm not thinking we're all going to hell in a handbasket. Though it has felt like that, I will confess. I found this fabulous quote there that's really fitting for the message this morning, and it was so, it turned me on. It was very exciting, and so I always research who said what, if it's somebody I never heard of. And this is a Chinese-American geographer, of all things. His name is Yi-Fu Tuan. Anybody heard of him? No? I thought maybe, Julie, you might, because you majored in sociology or something, right? So Yi-Fu Tuan is a geographer, but he's a humanistic geographer. When I read that, I went, whoa, that's the kind of thing that excites me. I want to know more about him. Oh, yeah, now she's going, or I'm interested. And he studied in London, and he studied he was at Oxford, then he came over to Berkeley, UC Berkeley. And he's currently a professor in Wisconsin, and he is the humanistic geographer expert of the world. I think he coined the term even, I can't remember for sure. But here's what they do. These are researchers that look at geographical behavior. They study cultures to identify how people behave in different geographical locations and how that all changes. But it has to do with the way we are always, this is so Course in Miracles, we are always giving meaning to space and place. That's their whole purpose. So what they say is that we tie emotions to the environment that we live in. And I could say, I know that's true. If I go to a hotel, the first thing I do is change it around a little bit so that I'm comfortable there. I Karenize it, I make it mine. If I go camping, I don't go camping. But if I went camping, I did a couple times. But you want your campsite. So, you're going to personalize your campsite. And so there's something in us that does that fairly well. So they call that geographical behavior. And I found an article, because I got so excited about the guy. I found an article that was an interview, a transcribed interview of his take on the pandemic, on how we behaved during the pandemic, and he said it was classic. He said that the first thing you do is you want to be comforted by the shelter of your home. So, if it's raining outside, you want to get covered. You want to, and it feels really wonderful to go home on a rainy day and keep warm or get comfortable, read a book, whatever you like to do. But that was the first thing we did, and it's a good thing that we did that. We actually had to do that. We were told, go home. So we all went home. And then he said, then you try and deal with your anxiety, and we do a couple things to deal with our anxiety. So because it was the virus, it was a pandemic, we became religiously committed to washing our hands in a specific way, and we wiped down all the surfaces and the doorknobs, and we were leery of packages that were left on our porches, and we did everything we could to help ourselves feel safe in our homes. because the first thing that we do when they study humanity is we confront the enemy. We confront the enemy. So the enemy was, okay, I don't want it on my hands, don't want it in my house. So you do that. But then you also need to give your mind a rest. You need some time to not be worried about all of that. So then we did some other things. We started adopting pets. Isn't that funny how we just, I don't know, it was cats and dogs. We adopted pets. The Humane Society was thrilled, that everybody wanted pets, and we found a way to be kind to other life. They also said there was a tremendous increase in liquor sales, so we stayed home and humored ourselves, apparently. And then the other thing we did was, and I'm guilty of this one, I binged Netflix, no, you couldn't out-binge me. 6 hands going up there, right? And what was really fun is that we were still filming here at church, and there was a group of us even on lockdown. It was a skeleton crew. I don't know, what do we have, 5 or 6 of us, maybe? Four of us, maybe. And we would come in every Sunday and tell each other what we got to watch. Oh, I just discovered this. I just discovered that. I was so sad when I finished The Crown, and then I had to move on to other things. And so we did that to give our minds a rest, right? We were obsessed with the news, and the information was, always changing. And so that's what we did. TV, movies, reading books. I did read some fiction last year, a little more than I would have in a busier life. And then the third thing we did was we stocked our pantries. Made sure we had enough toilet paper and all the other things we needed. So we followed a pretty predictable, according to the behaviorists, the geography was our home, and then we made ourselves as comfortable as we could under the circumstances, and we sort of sanctified our space, and we filled it with things that would sustain us and give us pleasure. And there's some instinct, they say. There's just an instinct that we have in the way that we do that. So Dr. Tuan said that, this is the quote that I found that led me to do the interesting research that turns me on. And I want to say that this comes from one of his books that was published well before the pandemic. So it has nothing to do with the pandemic, but listen to how useful these words are. He says, humans change according to a preconceived plan. We see the end in the beginning. That is, before changing, people do something extraordinary. Namely, they see what is not there yet. Seeing what is not there lies at the foundation of all human culture. This is what we teach. This is what we teach, and the behaviorists are like figuring it out and saying, yes, what a great thing that we do that, and we have this ability to do that. So for me, he's talking evolutionary vision here. That's exactly what this is all about. It's that forward thinking. It's like a pile of stones can become a castle because one person had an idea. And that person tells other people, and they get together, and somebody creates the plans, and they start building. And we have these great things that were at one time only a glimmer of a thought in somebody's mind. And that's how the world works. We need more visionaries right now. We need people that are willing to turn off the news for a little while and not worry about how the next conversation is going to go if you bump into somebody with a differing view. And we need to commit to sitting still and to court the presence so that the presence can woo us. That we can align ourselves and build our faith and generate something that is a positive, generative, almost like a substance for the future that we are creating. Something desires to emerge on this planet, and we are primed to be the ones through which that something comes. And we do that collectively. We do that individually first, But we are doing that collectively now. And again, I want to say, I know it looks like we've regressed because we have. And that's the good news, because what that means is, we've been moving when we have a step backward, and now we're ready for that surge of forward movement again. And we need people to believe it, to speak it, to think it, to imagine it, to tie our will to it, the way that it came out in the reading, so that we can be a part of calling it forward on the planet. But remember, it can only emerge through us. We're the instrument. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace, of your love, of your joy. Use me, God, use me. And so, I say regularly, and I will not cease to say, I believe every man, woman, and child on the planet should sit for 10 minutes in quiet every day. 10 minutes. You don't need to learn to meditate. We need to sit still and let the stuff settle. And if 10 minutes is too much, try 5 minutes. And if 5 minutes feels like too much, start with 1 minute. Even little kids do longer than a minute in a timeout, begrudgingly. But we want to sit still, and so that's my plan. We should have a movement, right? 1 minute. Everybody, let's tell everybody, you have to sit still at least 1 minute. Preferably 10 would be even better. But when people get together and do even tiny acts of kindness like stillness, it creates space for the change, for that which desires to emerge on the planet, so that it can emerge. And I believe that's the whole point in wanting to see things differently. If you see the world broken, that is the time to say, Lord. I say Lord. I don't know why. I've never been in a church where they said Lord, but for some reason I always go back to Lord. Show me another way of seeing this. See, in New Thought, when we say Lord, we talk about the law, the universal law that is always working, that cause and effect kind of law. Show me another way of seeing, of understanding, of moving through this experience, whatever it is. But it begins with that seeing. Teilhard de Chardin, I've been having a love affair with Teilhard this year. Teilhard de Chardin says, don't tell Hugh. 50 years last weekend. Yeah, 50 years. Teilhard de Chardin says, the whole of life lies in the verb seeing. Seeing. Can you wake up and sit for a minute and open yourselves to allow Spirit to show you something you've never noticed before? Wow, that would be so profound. Sometimes I take my morning walk, or if it's cooler weather, I go out later than morning. But I take my walk and I do that. I ask God to show me something, even though I walk in my neighborhood that I walk 100 million times. Show me something I've never seen before today. And you know what? Never lets me down. I always do see something. That's the way we generate faith. We participate in it. We are part of creating it. And so, what do I see today? What do I see today? What do I want to see today? Let's think about that, because I think that the great teacher, the master teacher Jesus, when he said, do not judge by appearances, he was telling us that we can be deceived by what we think we see. And he was inviting us to see by faith, not just by the human eye. Things are greater than they appear to be, and that is always, always true. So talking about that idea of the way we give meaning to things, that we all give meaning to we're always attaching meaning to whatever it means. You have a thought that's different than the thought I have. We're always attaching meaning. I was thinking about the early explorers, and I remember in that, I think it was it What the Bleep, or was it The Secret? One of those early movies that got everybody all hot about the law of attraction. So they could acquire more stuff. Sacrilegious, right? For the new thought, that's bad. Can you edit, Julie? Can you also edit when we go along? But truly, if you were around then, our classes were filled with people that were hungry for what they saw in those movies. And then in a year's time, they all went away because they didn't commit to the practice. You know, they didn't understand that there's a method, there's a, you know, it's a process. So anyhow, it made me think about that idea of attaching meaning to things. It made me think about somewhere it said that the early explorers would come to the Americas or anywhere, actually. The story I'm going to tell you is actually from Australia. And they would be in these big ships, and they must have had their, what do you call those? Telescopes. Yeah. And they would be looking at the people that live there, the indigenous people that live on the island, and they would see that they didn't care that they were out there in this big ship. And so somehow we created this theory based on that information that they couldn't see the ships, that it was not identifiable. They couldn't relate it to anything in their lives. So I thought, I don't know, I bet is that a myth, or is that a real thing? So of course I researched it. And it probably is more myth than fact, because they have the writings from Captain James Cook, he went all over the New Zealand. He actually is the first person to ever go all around New Zealand, and he did a lot of stuff in the islands around Australia. And then of course he met his demise in the Hawaiian Islands. His hula didn't turn out so happy, and but he had a botanist on board when he was down in Australia, and the botanist kept a diary because he's tracking all the important things that were important to him. And the botanist said that the people that were native to the lands were not interested in the big ship out at water. They seemed to be just doing what they needed to do. But when the men got in the smaller boats and they start rowing toward shore, that then the natives got upset, they got ruffled, and they came out with their really long spears and tried to steer away any problems. So the truth is, it didn't bother them that there was something out there that they didn't know. I mean, maybe it's true. We will never really know, will we? But it didn't bother them. This theory says it didn't bother them that the ship was out there. They were probably, they saw weird things jump out of the water. But when it approached them, the smaller boat approached them, now they felt threatened and they attacked. I think that we've been using our long spears on each other for a while. And I think that we have felt very threatened by something that has felt really scary to us. We've been distancing for so long. We've had opinions about everything. We've been judgmental with each other. We've defended ourselves. And we most of all have defended ourselves against the big threat, which for us was the little virus. And so I think it's time for us to put down our long spears. I believe that it takes great faith to put your weapon down when you're scared. And I think it takes tremendous faith to stand undefended, sort of naked before life, and to ask God to show you another way of seeing and understanding. I also think it takes tremendous faith to become a visionary for good. But I know that we are all up to it. In fact, I am extremely optimistic. I have not wavered in my optimism, not one iota. And my ask is that we dedicate a minute a day, and that we ask others to join us in sitting still for just 1 minute a day. I brought my original book because I have a quote I wrote on the front of it many, many years ago, and it was just easier for me to bring the book and read it to you because it was a last minute thought. This is how I want to close this morning. Dr. Holmes again. If one will have faith in himself or herself, faith in our fellow human, faith in the universe and in God, that faith will light the place in which we find ourselves. And by the light of that faith, we will be able to see that all is good and that the light shed by this faith will light the way for others. Make an effort this week. Be faithful to the vision. So I invite you now to just allow all the words that we've spoken to just sort of fall around the room. And you are going to be open to finding the little gem of truth that is just yours today. And as you reflect on all the ideas spoken here, just allow that gem to come to you. Hold it sweetly in your hand. Just get comfortable where you're seated and begin to sense the love of God right here in this beautifully air-conditioned room. God. In the beginning, God. Right here, fully present, nothing lacking, nothing missing, the fullness of Spirit itself. A presence and a power that, yes, is greater than we are. And it is a power for good, and we can use it. I feel the love of God within me. And it is the movement, the activity of life. It is that which quickens in the inner way as we recognize again that there is something miraculous about living in these human bodies. That very intelligence that we know has created the entire universe continues to sustain us in this life-giving fashion. That there is this gorgeous grace that is free-flowing. And so we choose what it is that we care to see this day, and we open ourselves as we invite God to expand our vision, to clarify in such a way that we can move through each day, through each experience, and have a little bit more understanding than we did yesterday. I feel that love of God, and I know that it is that very light of connection with other human beings. We rejoice in our ability to gather in this sanctuary again. We realize with real eyes that there is a truth that is vibrant. It is an energetic force for good on this planet. It is that which heals what ails us. It is the very substance of forgiveness. And it is that light of truth that allows us to know how to put one foot in front of the other no matter what's going on. And so we stand as visionaries. We open our hearts and our minds and we claim this truth that we are visionaries creating the future for our own life. And as we do this with a seriousness, as we become accountable for our own experience on this planet, we then bring more light to our fellow humanity so that there's a movement of love on this planet. And that one by one, each of us gets a little more clear in our expectations, in our understanding, and in our acceptance of this divine life that desires expression through us even now. And so wherever there is an appearance of something good missing, we know to not judge by the appearance, but to take that Godward gaze, to open ourselves to the higher perspective, and that we will be given what we need in the moment to sustain us in the same way we moved through an interesting year. And so I am grateful I am so grateful that in difficult, challenging times, this spiritual community has thrived. That we have found our way and we have stayed committed to this process of life and to being the vision keepers, and we boldly cast our vision onto the world, demanding the appearance of good on the planet. I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. How grateful I am to know that there is a creative process that works for the highest good of all. And in that spirit of deep gratitude, I simply release the words of this prayer into that divine law, knowing it is already done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen.
I was taken by one thing you said during your talk.
Let me guess.
Hell, go to hell in a handbasket. And I remembered a Looney Tunes Daffy Duck cartoon from so many years ago, where Daffy was always getting in trouble, you know. He died one of many times in this cartoon, and he went down a conveyor belt in a handbasket to hell.
Is that a song?
No, it should be. Should be. Said I have this one.
If you if you do a song for us, don't let it because I inspired you by the Hell Basket.
Okay, there you go.
Be wrong.
So this song is about taking in the message that we just heard, and then what we do as good religious scientists is we release it to the universe, and we let go and we let God take care of things for us. So it goes like this.
Till it calls to let go. Till it calls to let go, let go, let go.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. It's always a joy to have you here because there's so much life, so much fun.
Yeah.
So, thank you, everybody. I was listening to the chart. You had the hell in the handbasket. I don't know how many of you have a little watch that looks at all the things in your body, your heart, and your this and your that. Mine has a little app in it that says, take 2 minutes now, and it has a little thing that makes breathe, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale.
Oh, I need that.
And it's 2 minutes.
Oh,
It's 2 minutes, and
double one. That's
there you
fun.
go. So everything is, actually, you know, it's amazing how much everything in the universe is really pointing us in that direction. If it shows up on your watch, you know? Anyway, so thank you all for being here. We are still at the point where we are not passing the basket, so there's a box in the back, one in the lobby, and you can donate online or send something in, use your bank, have a regular tithe taken out. So, will you please repeat with me the joyful giving affirmation. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. So it is. You know?
I do. I just have a couple of things I want to throw in at the 11th hour here, and that is there's a big box out by the door in the lobby, in the foyer, and we are collecting back to school items for the Heart Pantry. The Heart Pantry works for teens, and a lot of them are homeless, and they would love to have any school supplies, and there's a list that you can pick up or look at over there, and then we're taking everything from binders to pencils to calculators and journals and anything you can think of. They need notebook paper, and you know, they're delighted to get whatever we can give them and we've supported them before, and we really enjoy helping them. So that box will be out here until the 19th, I believe. So bring your stuff. Time is getting slimmer, and it's one of our joys to support others in our community. I'll be teaching, I'm going to wrap up classes pretty soon. I'll be teaching Emerson in August. We'll do a 4-week Emerson class on Wednesday afternoons. And then in September, we'll be starting the foundation class again. So you have lots of educational opportunities, and it's been fun to do. Oh, I'm so happy to be teaching again. Makes my life really happy. So I'm going to close us out with a little affirmation, and then we'll do some singing. Repeat after me. I am a visionary.
I am a visionary.
And I am faithful to the vision.
And I am faithful to the vision.
Amen.
Amen.
You want to close us out, my friends?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Oh, that's my favorite.
I know you
song.
know this song. It's a call and response song. It's the same song.
Stand on up now.
I make you sing every time I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to do the warm up because I know you know it.
All right.
I release. I let go. I let God. 'Cause I know. It is done. It is so. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. I release. I let go. I let God. 'Cause I know. It is done. It is so. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Every day I pray.
something really special next week. Be sure, if you can come, next week is the week to be here in person. And remember, pray often, love much. See you soon.